Next topic is Cisco ISE repository. We use repository in Cisco ISE from many purposes. Also, you can configure Cisco ISE repository from graphical user interface, and also you can configure them from CLI as well. We use Cisco ISE repository for many purposes. Some of them is if you want to install patches from CLI, so then you require repository. If you want to upgrade Cisco ISE, again you need a Cisco ISE repository. If you want to restore from backup, again you need ISE repository. If you want to export backup, you require repository. If you want to export logs, syslogs, logs, whatever, again you need a repository. If you want to export the report from Cisco ISE, again you require a repository. If you want to export any sort of thing, normally you require a repository to create first. Now the thing is, you can configure Cisco ISE repository from CLI, also from graphical user interface, as I told you. But if you configure Cisco ISE repository from CLI, it will be local to each node only. And I will show you when we do lab. And will be git remove, okay, when the ISE node is reloaded, either restarted. It means it's a temporary. When you create from CLI, so your ISE repository is only local to that node. It will not be distributed to other nodes. Second thing, if your ISE node is reboot, so it will be removed automatically if you create from CLI. But if you configure from graphical user interface, it will be replicated to all node and deployment. And it will not be removed even if your ISE node reloaded. So keep in mind, if you want persistent repository, you need to create from GUI. And if you need a temporary, you need to create from CLI. Also, if you want a repository which can be replicated to all your deployment nodes automatically, then you need to create from graphical user interface. And if you need only local to that node, then you can create from CLI. Okay, these two things are clear. Now this repository support many different protocol. It can be local disk, it can be file transfer protocol, it can be secure file transfer protocol, it can be 12 file transfer TFTP, it can be NFS, it can be CD-ROM, and it can be HTTP, and it can be HTTPS repository. It's up to you. Normally in environment you will see FTP and SFTP, but it's up to you. So there are several different protocol which support by repository, and you can create multiple repository as well for many other purpose. Also you can create multiple repository from different protocol perspective as well. So now let's go, let me show you how we can create this repository, and later in the course we will use this repository for many other purposes. So let me log into this ISE node which we configure 192.168.100.210. So this is 210, and let me log in admin. Password is abc@12345. And what we will do, we can go to administration, then system, maintenance, and then repository. And when you go there, you can add repository. By default there will be nothing, okay? And you can create repository for different protocol. We will create for FTP because in our environment we have this FTP already. You remember this server 100.230 is our FTP server. So let's go to administration, then maintenance, and then you can click on repository. Okay, and here is repository list. Click on add, and let's suppose I want to create repository for FTP. So I give a name. You can give any name, by the way. FTP repository repo. Now these are the protocol which I was talking about. DEX, FTP, SFTP, which type of protocol? Right now we have FTP. If you remember, we configure FTP here, and this is our FTP. Let me copy this one, and server name. Okay, you can type server name, either you can type IP, and path means the main directory. So I say this one. Username we will use the administration name, administrator. You can create a different one. So I would say administrator, and password is abc@12345, and submit. Okay, so now my repository is created with the name FTP repo. Protocol which I will use is FTP, and this the host detail, and this the path where they will store, means in the main directory of FTP. Second thing, what you can do, tick mark this one, and here is validate if you want to test them before using. You see there is, it say repository validate successfully. Suppose if I change them, let's see, 230 is there and FTP is running, that's why I say successful. In case you may say that maybe it's just saying, so why not let edit and put something else, suppose 131, and check out, there is no 131, and save setting. And let's see now and check again. Okay, and let me go to repository and see validate, and see now, you see repository validation failed due to error, failed to read remote directory, because there is no such 231. Okay, so let me edit again, it means it's okay, and 230, and save setting. So I create a repository for FTP, and we will use them later for backup, patches, for many other purpose we can use this repository, but we create only for FTP. If you want, you can add more for any other protocol, either for the same protocol. So let me go back. So what I done, here I give a name ISE backup FTP, this the IP address, either the host name, then path, and credential. For a FTP, it's require credential. If you use another protocol, it will be different, like SFTP. It's also require key as well, because it's a secure one. TFTP, it doesn't require username and password, so that's why it's not asking you the username and password. So it's depend. Okay, if you say HTTP, again it's not required, HTTPS is not required, and FTP it's require a username and password. So that's why it's depend. Okay, and then we check, so it's okay. You need to validate. As I told you, I changed them to 231, so it given error. And also you can verify a repository which we create from CLI. The command is show repository and then name of the repository. So let me log into my ISE node from my secure CRT. Okay, and let's verify. Go to file, quick connect, and 192.168.100.210, sorry, and SSH, username admin, and let me connect, and password is abc@12345. Okay, so now I'm logging to my ISE node. Why? Because this is my system. I log in from here to this ISE node through SSH 210, and now I'm logging here. Okay, and it's showing that last time I log in this one, and one failed login attempt as well. So if I want to check, show repository, and then name is FTP repo. This is the name which I give, and you see it's showing me that there is a text file. because you remember there we test them, we create FTP directory and we put one test file. That's why it's showing me. So show repository FTP repo. So you can verify from here. Now coming, if you want to create repository from CLI, so these are the command. You need to go to configuration mode, definitely we discuss. Then there's the command repository and then name of the repository, then URL and then username. So simple, and exit, and you can verify the same command which I show you. And if you don't need, you can say no repository and FTP. These are the commands. So let's check out. Let me go to config terminal and here type repository, and then it's asking you name. So because you already created FTP repo, so let me type FTP repo 1. And if you type question mark, so there is a do command, end command, exit from here, no command. So it means two command we need to type, URL and user, repository URL and user. For this means username and password. So simple. Let's type URL. Now if question mark, so it's given option, like the one we need is this one, FTP. So type FTP and our one is 100.230. This is our FTP, yeah, and enter. So FTP is done. Now look at this message warning. They say repository configure from CLI cannot be used from ISE web UI, means graphical user interface, and are not replicated to other ISE node. If this repository is not created in ISE web UI, it will be deleted when ISE services restart. So it's clear now. The thing which I was saying to you at the beginning, that if you configure repository from CLI, each node get removed upon reload of the node. That's what I'm saying, and it's also give me the same error warning. It's okay. Second thing I need user. So let me type user. Now it's asking username is administrator, which we create in Active Directory. Second thing is require password. Now password can be typed two type, hashes, encrypted form and plain text. Let me type in plain text. And password for FTP is abc@12345 and enter. That's it. And exit from here, Control L, clear the screen and show repository FTP repo 1. And you see our FTP repository is created from CLI, but we have this one as well because it's representing same. So that's why we have two repository created, one from graphical user interface, second from CLI. Let's go back to GUI and see this repository is there or not. You see it's not here. It's only showing me FTP repo, but this one can be checked from CLI as well, because I told you when you create a repository here, it will be distributed to all your nodes, and when you reboot your system, you will see this repository here. But the one which we create with this name, if you reboot the system, it will be removed automatically. This is the difference between creating from CLI and creating from GUI. Also, when I create from CLI, it's not showing here, but the one which we created from GUI, you can see them from CLI as well. So it's clear, yeah? So let me go down. If I miss something, I believe it's done. Okay. And if you want to remove the CLI one, so you can go to config and no repository. What was our repository? FTP repo 1. That's it.